Does this look shabby enough and like as if I'm talking to somebody who's part of the production? There's nobody else here. It's me. I'm crew, solo, me, make video, do video. This is technically a response video, but to put like the amount of effort into that sort of the prestige of that is implied here on YouTube would defeat the point, because ultimately I don't think anybody at any step of this, at any part of this process, should see what I'm about to make, even though I'm sure at least one of their names is in the title. Wanna be a wannabe? Like and subscribe. I've been watching Dan Olsen's videos for a long time. His coverage of cryptocurrency, his video on the Nostalgia Critics The Wall, and this recent one on James Rolfe all held my attention. They were all very interesting. I think he's a good content creator and I enjoy his stuff. But this one there was something different about it that I know I'm not the only one who thought of it this way, and my interpretation might not be the only one, but I wanted to go into how I felt about it, because in a way the video focuses so much on the idea of YouTubers as failed filmmakers.
What you need to do to progress is confront your insecurities and accept that you're not a filmmaker either.
What did you say?
Watch Dan's video for the full context and then come back and watch here. I'm not using a script. I am putting as little effort into the presentation of this as I possibly can. The only thing I really brought to the table here is that I've got this banner framed t-shirt, the same one that I'm wearing. This is just the back of that, because that jump cut you just saw there is because I almost showed my whole ass to the camera, and I think we don't know each other that well. You random YouTube audience. And actually, that's what I was gonna say here, is that when you're looking at the context of, you know, each of these individual YouTubers, from James Rolfe to Dan Olsen to me, myself, there is a sense of whatever we're observed as by the audience is what we are. Whether that observation happened concurrently to the video that's coming out, or whether it's an old video that is being observed. And there's this kind of like bizarre voyeurism that even we fellow YouTubers get into, where it's like watching a stranger is figuring out who they are, why they made the decisions they made, trying to come up with some conclusions like that. And in the case of me and Dan and James, there is this feeling that each of us are characters, because we're here, we're on screen, and we can go and talk about that other person, and we get to be the sort of main character of our narrative and our discovery of that person. And the narrative that we set becomes sort of how that person is perceived. And that is kind of inherently manipulative. And that's, you know, I'm not saying this to say that the Dan Olsen video was egregiously manipulative any more so than any given response video. I mean, if you've seen some of the response videos to different people on this website, you know that things can get really contentious and really out of hand, because ultimately what a response video is, especially in like its most malicious state, is to make up a version of the person you're talking about that is disagreeable and then point to that person. Even if there's another version of them, maybe even the one that exists in reality, that you would actually agree with and have no problem with, or is not affecting you and your life in any way at all. And I am not immune to this kind of manipulation. Or rather, I'm not exempt from the possibility that I could make this. I might be doing it right now, is the thing. But that's because that privilege, that right, is because I'm a character now. This thing you're seeing here, this ghost of electricity howling in the bones of the Bob Dylan lyrics I can't quite remember. The bones of her face, there it is. But the thing is that because I am this now, I get to talk about Dan gets to talk about James, and everyone else in the world gets to observe it as if any of this is actually accurate to anything. The framework of the video posits that James Rolfe is unsuccessful in some way, and maybe he is. But to have specifically Dan Olson put up this sort of like James Rolfe isn't the goalpost that you should be comparing yourself to, and also don't be me, don't become me. Because to anyone who wants to be a filmmaker, be a creative, that is essentially what the takeaway of this video is. And that's why I think more than anything, people who are pursuing art are gonna have like a weird reaction to this. It's a lot like the wavelength thing that he talks about, which I don't know about, because in some ways I have my blind spots. I went to school for creative writing and not filmmaking, which is why the technical side of it is often so difficult to me. I mean, I've got one light over here beaming down on me, and it's casting a really deep, dark shadow. It's awful. And I've got literally like a folding chair, like a pro wrestling folding chair, and I've got my 4K camera, which isn't even a camcorder. It's like a go take vacation pics sort of thing. Take slow motion photos of your dog catching a frisbee. That's what I've just got that sitting there, and behind that, the music stand that was gonna be like if this was a higher up video, but no, it isn't because I'm sitting down. Like all this is like it's a madhouse. It's the James Rolfe sort of jury rig setup that doesn't convey anything positive, at least in the eyes of one Dan Olson, about my prospects as a filmmaker. And the thing is, I've got like a couple script drafts in audio drama that I want to work on. Obviously, you know our group. We make stuff, we make shows. We've got the Kingmaker Histories right now, which is awesome. There's a few other projects that are in the works, but I won't spoil them because, you know, that's between the creators of that and their solitary war of art. But for me, I've got an audio drama that I'm working on that'll be run by me. So far, it's all written by me. That might change. I've got a screenplay, I think the fourth or fifth, the fourth one I've written in my life that I'm not attached to in a like sentimental sense. Like I don't need to make it, but I'm like I'd be comfortable with somebody else making it. So it's the first one that I'm really like authentically shopping around, because I think that I think it's no longer amateurish, but it's also not so personal and so connected to my sense of self that I feel as though I would have to make it someday. And then there's a short film idea that I have that I want to produce this summer, and I've just written the script for it recently, and I had this battle with myself of like, well, is this just going to be a short film that wants to be a feature film? And I had to think about scaling it back until it was something that was actually like super feasible, that I could pour all of the resources into the shortest amount of time, into the smallest scale concept, while still being compelling and interesting. And I've got all these irons on the fire, right? And on top of that, I'm doing YouTube, I'm doing freelance writing, I've got all this stuff that I'm trying to get off the ground, and I'm contributing to other people's stuff, and it just, you know, I just think that I wonder what's different, because so many people think they can do all of this, right? And so many people don't do it. So many people do in whatever, like whoever is creating the narrative about the people who don't make it, those people get to tell the people who didn't make it that they failed and that it's over. And I think like this video sort of tangled up in my mind in the same place that I saw the TV Glow by Jane Schoenbrunn did. It's a film with a lot of like, queer themes. I think that's the main reading. But it also is such a film about not actualizing and not getting to where you can be the person that you're meant to be. And that there might be hope, that there might be time, but sometimes you don't get there in the way that you hoped or at the time that you hoped. And all of this stuff just, it teleports me 10 years into the future and makes me wonder who that person's gonna be. And if they're going to be watching this video right now and regretting the fact that they talked big game and never did anything. Fuck me, man. Where do I go from there? Like what else could there possibly be? Like, do I just keep talking? Do I just keep rambling? Do I sit here for the next 10 years and Rip Van Winkle myself into James Rolfe and Dan Olsen's age so I can finally complete the character arc of this version of me that's in this video, who's feeling like he might not make it, like he can't do it, like it's all come tumbling down, like he's not gonna ride the Humunga Dunga, like he's gonna get dunked under the water and drowned in the sea of his own creative ambition, like it's all over forever and forever, never more and more and never ever forever, gone, bad, down, YouTube, fell off, ratio, plus, gone, dead, no movies, no maidens, no nothing, no ass, no tits, no nothing. Is that what I'm meant to do forever? Just, I mean, cause it's not compelling. At a certain point, I'm sure I could go on and say things that are insightful, but that would defeat the purpose of this vow that I'm going to make right here. And it's that, Dan Olsen, I don't know you. I like your work. But you have convinced me that I do not want to be you. And when I'm 44 years old, I want to be the version of myself that held true to that vow. And I implore all of you out there, every last one of you who is doing something creatively, who is working towards something, to remember that time is moving, and you've got to roll with the punches, and you've got to get out there, and you've got to do it. And I could list off a number of different celebrities who have made it or not made it or were yet to make it at the age that you're at, and who made it later in life and then became like, worldwide sensations. But that defeats the purpose, because this whole nonsensical thing comes when we don't examine ourselves, when we don't live our own lives, when we're constantly comparing ourselves to other people. I don't know by what metric Dan Olsen or James Rolfe or whomever has for me that I'll be considered a real filmmaker or successful by the time that I'm that age. But I do know my own standard. And I know that that standard is going to change with each new victory as I continue to climb, as I continue to fight, as I continue to tooth and nail make my way to the heart of art, of my art. Like, comment, and subscribe, baby!